Greetings, my friends. Here we are, another week of our Bible reading in our quest to read through the New Testament in 1 year. And this week, our readings bring us to the end of the book of Luke. We're going to look at the final 3 chapters in Luke, and then we're going to look at the first 2 chapters in John. Now, as you read through these final chapters in Luke, you're going to see a lot of very familiar stuff here. Stuff that you've already read in Matthew and you've looked at in Mark. So we are not going to dwell a whole lot here on these 3 chapters because they are very familiar. But I do want to give us a quick overview of what we're going to be looking at or what you may have already looked at. In chapter 22, we see that the plot to kill Jesus is growing stronger, and we see the preparation for Passover taking place as well as the Lord's Supper. We covered this many times over the course of the past couple of months, especially around Easter time. So this all look really familiar to you. And then we see Peter's denial being predicted by Jesus, and then a few verses later we see Judas giving the kiss of betrayal, as well as Peter denying Jesus just as predicted. Now in 23, Jesus faces Pilate, so we have Pilate giving the crowd the option of either releasing Jesus to them or another known criminal, and that's Barabbas. And every year, this was a tradition that the governor would release one criminal back into society. He gave the crowd a choice. You want me to release Jesus, or do you want me to release Barabbas? And the crowd overwhelmingly chooses Barabbas. So this murderer, is released back into society, and Jesus is sentenced to be crucified. So we see Jesus' journey to Golgotha here, and we see the mocking, and we see the torture, we see the beatings, and in the end of chapter 23, we see Jesus' death. At the beginning of chapter 4, we see the resurrection of Jesus, as well as the disciples on the road to Emmaus. So that's basically what you're going to see in the last 3 chapters of Luke. So let's look at John real quick. We're going to be taking a look at the first 2 chapters of the book of John. And I really want you to spend some time meditating and praying over the first chapter of John, because in my opinion, the first few verses of John are very powerful verses. I want to read them to you. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. All things were created through him, and apart from him not one thing was created. Life was in him, and that life was the light of men. That light shines in the darkness, yet the darkness did not overcome it. Some very powerful words, and there's no question that we see some alluding here to Genesis. We see some alluding to the creation story. But what John is doing here that I think is very powerful is we are seeing divinity and humanity. We're seeing pre-existence and incarnation, revelation, and sacrifice all coming together in John's opening. Now, some scholars believe that his opening could have actually been a hymn that was sung by the early Christian community. And it's certainly written in a way that I could see it being a hymn. But that's chapter 1 in the book of John. In chapter 2, you're going to see the first miracle, Jesus turning water into wine, and then the cleansing of the temple. So there you have it, the last 3 chapters of Luke, the first 2 chapters of John. And I hope you can join us Thursday morning at 9 o'clock here at the church as we discuss our Bible readings for the week. And as always, I hope God continues to bless you through His Word.